Alright, so it looks like it's that time again. I'm going to go ahead and do some problems on here. You are welcome to follow along. I'm going to do, I think, 4 or 5 problems once I give a little bit of background as to the concept. First one I'll model, and then the second one I will just sort of give you a little bit of time, and then you can try it on your own. And then, as per usual, if you do have any questions, especially if you want to see them up here, please feel free to email me. The more questions that I get in my email, the more questions that I get elsewhere, the more videos I can put up. And people, I feel like you're interested in seeing them. So please feel free to email me. My email is right here. So what we're going to be wanting to do today is naming an arc of a circle given a central angle. How we're going to do this is we're going to identify if the arc is a major arc, minor arc, or semicircle, and then we will choose the name accordingly. One of the reasons why we need to know how to do this is because we're going to need to know how to communicate which piece of the circle we're working with eventually, and really basically boils down to knowing how to say what's what, right? So let's start off with a little bit of background. What is a central angle? Well, any angle is just, 2 lines glued together in a corner like this. And then a central angle of a circle is an angle that has the corner at the vertex. And there's a bunch of them here. Should probably label this point here. We'll call this, usually the center of a circle is referred to as O. Capital O. That's usually the name that one gives the center of a circle. Although, to be honest, if we're not using the center of the circle as a point, it's not normally up there, and that's fine. You'll see it a lot of times where they'll actually put a point here. They won't label it, but they will always label the center of the circle if it is needed to be used. Like, for example, right now, if I want to talk about a central angle here, if I want to talk about, for example, let's use a color that people can see. Let's go with this light blue here. If we want to talk about this angle right here, going through this corner, starting at B, going all the way to A, we would be able to call this angle B O A, right? 3 letters. Central angles are almost always going to be counted with 3 letters. That's I'm just highlighting with the same color here. They're always going to be counted with 3 letters, and the reason they're always going to be counted with 3 letters is because they all go through the center point right here. And so if I just call it, because sometimes you can just call by the one vertex letter in the middle, O, but here, if I'm talking about angle O, which angle O am I talking about? There's a lot of them. I'm not even going to try and count. There's probably like 15 or 20 at least different angle O's, and so we have to be very specific, so we have to use the angle's full 3-letter government name, right? So you can talk about this angle here, BOA. Let me pick another angle elsewhere. We can talk about, that is not what I wanted to do. Let's try that again. Let's talk about this. We'll get there eventually. It's okay. Maybe I need to have more coffee. But it's only 5 o'clock in the evening. I'll wake up soon. talk about this angle over here. COE. Start with one outside letter, then the middle, then the other outside letter. And it's reversible. Like, for example, when we called this BOA, I could also have called this, wow, I'm just on the ball. I could have also called this angle AOB. As long as you put the O in the middle, since the O is the vertex letter, then you know you're fine. This one, you could call it angle COE. You could also refer to it as angle EOC. Both of those descriptions represent the same angle. Both of those descriptions represent the same angle. It does not matter the order of the letters. In geometry, and I want to sort of talk about this because it does make a difference depending on which class you're taking. In geometry, we don't really worry about what are referred to as the reflex angles, the angles that are bigger than 180, and that's because our focus just isn't there. The angle, I'm going to use a big word now, the angle that's subtended by the major arc, the angle cutting through the bigger one, the bigger than 180, we don't need to worry about because there are some properties of circles that make it so that we only have to worry about the angle, the minor one. But we'll get into that more. When you get into, for example, trigonometry, and you're talking about angles created by the unit circle, angles in polar stuff, then you're going to be talking about angles bigger than 180 more frequently, more often, and more intelligently. We don't actually care about that. So let's go forward. Minor arcs. Let's talk about what a minor arc actually is. A minor arc is an arc that is less than 180 degrees. You know, think about a circle from all the way around one time, 360. So if we're talking about less than 180, we're talking about less than half. What I've done here to illustrate half is I've drawn a diameter from A all the way to D, and that just shows half of a circle, and if it's going to be a minor arc, it had better be less than half of the circle. So look at, for example, this arc right here. That is less than 180 degrees. I'd say if I had to guess, it's roughly 60-ish. But the way I would name this is I would call it by its two endpoints. A, B. And then, of course, since I don't want to get that confused with a straight line going from A to B, I'm going to put a little arc over the top. I'm going to make it a curved arc like that, with a little hat, curved. And that is right there. That is arc AB in blue. But there's a bunch of them. We can talk about, for example, this one. Here's one that is, I'm declaring to be less than 180, going from C all the way to E. And the reason I wanted to pick this one is because it goes through other points. Remember, they're made with two letters, just the two endpoints. So even though there's the letter D in the middle here, I don't care. The letter D doesn't enter into it. The letter D is not part of this. We don't have to worry about it. We're just going to call it by its two endpoints. We're going to call this arc C, E. And again, put the little arc symbol over it. So we know that's what we're talking about, from C to E. and that's the green one. That's the one that we're talking about right here, going straight from C all the way to E. And we are specifically ignoring point D because we only care about telling you what the endpoints are. That's how we say what a minor arc is. All right, so now let's talk about what a major arc is. A major arc is an arc that is bigger than 180. So this arc has more than 180 degrees. It goes bigger than a semicircle. So, like for example, let's say we start on B, and we're going to follow the circle all the way to E. Right? It's definitely bigger than 180. And the way we do this, the way that we name it, is 2 endpoints, and then we pick one letter in between. And this is actually, so going back, remember what I was talking about, we ignore this letter in the middle? We only want to put 2 letters down because by putting 2 letters down, we are communicating that the arc that I'm talking about is less than 180. If I put a 3rd letter in there, I am telling you, well, wait a minute, it's not a minor arc anymore. So that's one of the big ways that we help ourselves differentiate. And so we can call this major arc a number of different things. I'm going to just give a couple examples right here. For example, here we can call it B, C, E. And again, the 2 endpoints and then 1 point in the middle. I'm going to put a little arc symbol over it. We could call it B, D, E, right? Just another letter that is in between B and E on this arc that we have. And again, just like the angles we were talking about before, I can flip the B and the E. I can call this E, C, B. These are all the same way of saying the same thing. E, D, B. Right? It's just the exact same way of saying the same thing, as long as you have 3 letters where the outer 2 are the endpoints, the inner 2, the inner one is a point that's in between on the arc, in between the 2 endpoints, then you know you're good. So all you have to do is pick the 2 endpoints, B and E, put them on either end, and then in the middle, there's, if you've got a choice between which point to pick, just pick the one you like better. If you like C, pick C. If you like D, go ahead and pick D. It's all the same. So, the last situation we want to talk about is referred to as a semicircle. And a semicircle is exactly 180. And again, as we go through and we pick, I'm going to pick the one that is definitely a semicircle based on how I've drawn the picture. Well, there's one down here too, right? If you know that this is a semicircle, well, this one has to be a semicircle too. I don't know if this is easy to see. This is a kind of a day glow yellow, kind of. I don't know. No, I don't want both. I just want one. Okay, well, whatever. We're stuck with the yellow. Anyway, so as we go through, again, the same thing as with the major arc. Pick the 2 endpoints. So in this case, we've got A and D as our endpoints. And then it doesn't matter which one we pick in the middle. We can pick B or we could pick C. So we have a whole bunch of different ways. We could call it A, B, D, A, C, D, D, C, A, D, B, A. And either of those is fine. Just make sure you put the little curvy hat on it, just to name it, so we know it's an arc and not something else. So that's the green one. That's the green one. Green. Goodness. Like I said, maybe I'll wake up soon. It's only 5:30. Well, 5. It's only 5. Alright, and then the yellow one. Let's name the yellow one. This time I'm going to try and do it without messing up. We've got the endpoints here. A and D are the two endpoints. Just like before. But now, since I'm talking about the yellow arc, the yellow semicircle, the point in the middle is E, and I have to use that one. And again, I'm talking about an arc, so I want to put the little arc hat on, the little curvy hat. I'm going to click on yellow before I forget, because we're talking about the yellow arc. And that's what this one is right here, the yellow one. And again, you could have named it differently. You could have called it DEA. Yeah, just like with this green one, you didn't have to call it ABD. You could have called it DCA, DBA, ACD. As long as the two endpoints, are on the end, and then there's one letter in between, you know you're good. And that's all there is to that. So now that we know how to name a semicircle, we know how to name a major arc, we know how to name a minor arc, let's do some examples. All right, so let's take a look at what we're talking about. It says name the arc made by the given angle. They want the major arc for angle 1. Well, what does that mean? The major arc for angle 1. Well, what's angle 1? Angle 1 is this guy, right? KOJ. And remember, just like I warned you, they didn't put an O here in the center because we don't actually need the O to talk about, to label things. So they didn't put it. But it's there. That's O. Right there in the middle. That's angle 1 right there. What I just highlighted in red. So in blue, we're going to talk about the major arc, right? The major arc. Remember, that's the one that's bigger than 180. So we don't want this little one in the middle here. We want the one that goes from J to K all the way around the... Wow. Let's try that again. All the way around. Still not very good, but that's okay. Never went to school for coordination, just for math teaching. So that's the arc. The blue one here, that's the arc, and it kind of looks like a little Pac-Man now. That's adorable. So first thing we do, we want to name the arc. Well, we gotta, just like we talked about before, two endpoints and then one letter in between. So let's pick the two endpoints first. The two endpoints are J and K. Well, there's J, there's K. Well, what goes in the middle? A point in between J and K. So let's look on the blue. The 2 points that are in between J and K on the blue are I and H. Does it matter which one we pick? No, it does not. Some of you might like I better. Some of you might like H better. I'm going to do J, H, K. And then don't forget, put the little hat on top. And that is the major arc for this angle right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of time. Try this problem on your own. That one person who's watching, I'm talking to you. Go ahead and see if you can figure out how to name the major arc for angle TQU. Let's go ahead. Let's look. So we've got TQU. Let's identify the angle before we do anything else. TQU. Start at T. Go through Q. Go through U. All right? That's the angle that we're talking about here. That's TQU. So now that we've identified our angle, let's look. We're talking about a major arc, right? Since we're talking about a major arc, let's draw the major arc, the one that is bigger than 180, the one that goes the long way around the circle. And again, like that. And now all we have to do is name it. So we go through, just like before, we use the endpoints first, T, and U goes on the other outside, and then we look, what's the only other letter that's in between T and U, and that's V. So V goes in the middle here, T, V, U. Major arc. Hooray! So now let's talk about a minor arc. The way that my program, it says name the arc given by the angle, and since it's not talking about a major arc, then we know that we're talking about a minor arc. So, you know, whatever it is. But they're talking about naming the arc made by the given angle AQC. So let's go ahead and do that. AQC, that's the angle we're working with. Go from A to Q to C. Now that we've done that, we've identified our angle. We want to name the arc. In this case, since we are talking about an arc that is not a major arc, we're talking about a minor arc. So let's label the minor arc, the one that is in between the short way around on the circle. So if we look, going back, looking at what I told you before, a minor arc, 2 letters, just the endpoints. So we don't have to worry about anything else except the 2 endpoints on the arc. So we look, C and A. Those are the 2 endpoints, so I'm going to call this CA. Arc CA. Now you could have also called this arc AC, and this would be the exact same thing. That is fine. It does not matter which way you go. As long as you have the 2 endpoints written with the little hat over it, you know that you have named the arc properly. So, now that we've done one example, here's another example. Go ahead and give it a try on your own. Okay, so I feel like that's probably enough time for you. Once again, we're gonna highlight which angle we're talking about. They want angle 2. And again, since they're not saying the word major here, they're talking about a minor arc. That's just the vocabulary that this program uses. So we're gonna go with that. Angle 2, well, that's this one right here, yeah? This right here. And so let's look at the minor arc that is cut out by angle 2. Let's go the short way around the circle, in between the arc, and we get this guy right here in red. So now remember, we want to find what the endpoints are, and that's G and H. So we're going to write those down. And there we go. We have done exactly what they've asked. This is the name of the arc made by this angle.